Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Beer Guys Radio. We are the Chinese water torture of beer podcast. We thank you for joining us today.
Correct.
We hope we slowly peck away at you. You guys know, I'm assuming what the Chinese water torture is, right?
Is that like the continual drip?
Yeah,
on the forehead?
yeah, and that seemed topical because that's kind of the mood I'm in today. It's like I'm irritable because nothing big happened at the day job, but a lot of small things just kept pecking away. Sometimes you have those days. They keep coming, little things. I'm like, oh well, that's annoying, but I can deal with that. But 10 of those happen, and it's a little water torture all day long, all day long.
I prefer the Scotch whiskey torture where you drop on the tongue all day long.
Just
and
keep that going.
oh my God, I'm so tortured. Oh, stop, please.
I don't think you'd ever get anything out of that though, would you?
That's
How
the
big are the
torture.
drops? How big are the
Probably,
drops?
probably not.
Like shot
actually.
glasses?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
If you're getting whole shot glasses, maybe, but
Yeah.
I feel like the real torture is it's never enough to actually do anything. You get a
Yeah.
little taste.
You could set that up to be good quality torture by just enough where you kind of start to feel that you feel it, but it never goes. You never go over that mark. But I don't know. That wouldn't really be torture to me because that's really my preferred buzz area these days. Is just when you feel it, just when you feel a little relaxed in that. I haven't been intoxicated in probably 2 years. I would say. So there was a situation during the pandemic on a video bottle share, and I believe that's the last time I was with. People thought I was dead. I was not, as you can see, but I think that's the last time I ever got intoxicated, and we were all crazy at that time. So I've got a good excuse. So, Nate, what was your pandemic hobby or time passed, or what'd you do? Are you muted, Nate? All right. We'll
it would appear
ignore
that he
Nate.
is.
He's not. He's having issues there. So Nate having technical difficulties. Brian, I know yours, but just to share with folks, what did you do to pass time during the pandemic?
Mine was mostly fermentation that was not alcohol related. I did ferment some pickles, which unfortunately did not come out. They came out soft and
not
slushy.
crunchy enough. Yeah.
Great flavor, but they had none of the crunch I really need. I just need that. And I think that I had always meant, I even bought a larger jar to do the full size, like mini, what are they? The little pickling cucumber size where you'd ferment them the whole way with the skin on unchopped. And supposedly that you get better results from that. I guess there's some chemicals you could put in there to help it with the crispness. And I never got around to that. So I still have the jar. I never did. But I did a lot of sauerkraut, and sauerkraut was probably my crowning achievement as the pandemic fermentation person. So
yeah. Rick, thanks for joining us. Cheers, man. Thanks for hanging out. We appreciate it. Yeah, I think so. We did, Brian. We kind of had the same thing. We did vegetable fermentations. Now, I made like some quick pickles with cucumbers where I more sliced them up and just did like a quick pickle with that, and those were fine. I didn't get any like real deal, hardcore pickles like the my favorite commercial pickle that I've had is Clausen. I think the flavor and the crispness on the Clausen pickles is good. But I did a lot of sauerkraut. I did some kimchi. I don't think you ever tried your hand at kimchi, did you?
I never did. I kind of wanted to, and I had some of your kimchi, and I thought it was awesome. I think kimchi is great. I remember for a lot of years I've had Korean friends, and how they would say it's like, oh, it's really polarizing. A lot of people don't like kimchi. I'm like, I don't know who these people are because kimchi is amazing. I really liked it. And like from the outset, it wasn't even, oh, I need to adjust to this. It was like, no, this is great. I love this.
Right out of the gate.
It could be I didn't have it until I was much older. I imagine as a kid, I would have turned up my nose at it a little bit. But like I had it, I think well, you know what? I think I like kimchi before I like sour beers. And so that's saying something.
All right. Yeah. I did. One of my favorite easy meals was if I had some kimchi, just like white sticky rice and teriyaki chicken, like with some sticky teriyaki sauce on it, and then kimchi. That's it. Chicken, teriyaki chicken, some sticky rice, and kimchi, and that's money. That's really all I needed. But
kind of the universal seasoning, just like a good lemon pickle or a lime pickle or whatever it is, the Indian chutney thing where it's not, I don't know if it's actually fermented, but it's aged and it's really pungent. That one is one that I think maybe a little bit more polarizing, but I also took to that early on. And if I put that lemon pickle stuff on just about anything, just
Yeah.
plain rice, I'd eat the heck out of the rice.
Good to
It's just
go,
like
right? Yeah.
it's just like it once it's on something, it's delicious.
Cheers to beers says currently work
Yep.
at Lot 9 Brewing in Bluffton, South Carolina. And yeah, you should put it over the speakers.
You
Let
should totally.
everyone enjoy it. Everyone enjoy it. They can
Absolutely.
chime in. Nate's back. They can
Nate's
chime in,
back.
tell
Oh,
us
good. You
about
can hear me? Great.
their pandemic hobbies and all that. So, Brian, outside of the cucumber pickles, though, I did a lot of other vegetables, cauliflower, carrots, things like that. And those worked pretty well. They kept their crispness. That's a little tricky to say.
Yeah.
Mm.
And one of my favorites, I did some giardiniera. I think that's the way you pronounce it, like you get, with your Italian beef sandwich. And the only problem with that was I loved it so much that I ate like nearly a quart in like 3 days and just totally destroyed my digestive system with that because I had fermented it, so I had those probiotics and they were very pro going to work on my system there. So
For a while, I never made giardiniera like proper, and I really like that stuff too. But I would take carrots were easy to ferment; they maintained a good texture, and I just didn't like carrots enough to eat them all the time. But I started
okay,
dicing
fair.
them up really fine and putting them on sandwiches and stuff like it was a giardiniera because they got so funky and sour. It
Yeah.
actually worked pretty well. So I didn't really care for the carrots too much fermented by themselves, but as a topping and something else, like almost a weird, funky tapenade type of thing,
All right.
I thought that was great. I
Cool.
really liked it. I even put it on. I think I even put it on some hot dogs, sausages, that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And like I thought it was fantastic. I would do it again. So I just got
Pickle
out
it
of the
and
habit
put
of
it on
doing that
there.
sort of thing.
Put
Yeah.
a pickle on it, Brian. Put a pickle on
Put
it.
a pickle on it. Yes.
So, Nate, what was your pandemic time like?
I got really big into those Zoom cocktail happy hours, and so
Oh,
I
okay. All right. Yeah.
that's where I started getting into cocktails and playing around with those.
Okay.
And
Cool,
then,
man.
you can only do so many doubles after work at the house that you got to realize, I should probably stop or slow down a little bit.
Yeah, Joan, that was such a weird time, y'all. We had like 6 months there where everybody was doing Zoom meetups and stuff. They were trying to keep some normalcy going. I think I did a beer tasting with Creature Comforts where they sent out, some beers and there was, I don't know, maybe a dozen of us on there. And I mean, it's fun. And then a lot of breweries hosted some happy hour events because they couldn't do stuff. So we'd get together for that. Or people just doing a DJ session or something. It was weird, man. Like 6 months there, just everything was in a Zoom meeting. So
Well, the really nice thing about it too is that we had a studio space to record out of. And so on Wednesday
yeah,
nights, I saw you guys face to face. I joined the show in June of
yeah,
2020. And so being able to sort of have that little hangout midweek, it was nice. There was no traffic. Getting to the studio after work was super easy.
it was,
Great.
yeah. And we used it when you couldn't go anywhere. And we were in Georgia, so we had it better than a lot of people as far as that because they reopened our state. Like they're like, it's fine.
Quick.
COVID's no big deal. Let's go. But for the time period we were closed down, Brian, you and I had head up there on Saturday and just play some video games, watch a movie, drink some beers, play some cards. So at least we had some place we could come together and not stay in the house nonstop. So wow,
Yeah.
2020, what a crazy year.
Yeah, it's such a weird time, and I remember hearing about oddly beer sales. I think a lot of alcohol sales actually went up because everybody was drinking all the time. Like
Yeah.
the people that weren't able to work from home were just not working at all, so they were just like, "This is crazy," and screw it, I'm going to pour myself a cocktail. So I think actual beverage sales in some ways was higher than it had been ever, and in other ways lower. But
Remember another thing they did is they were telling us to buy beer to go to support our breweries because they couldn't sell. And a silver lining, if you want to say, we actually got home delivery of alcohol in Georgia because of the pandemic. So being able to do curbside pickup and get delivery and that, we didn't have that before until It's our government's like, you know what? They're locked at home. Let them get some liquor delivered. Let them do a curbside pickup there.
I don't think it's even still legal, but I got beers to go from I think it was the Porter Beer Bar. They did a package deal where they were, like everybody that had an on-premise location that were suffering,
Yep,
and they
that's
just said, "Hey, we'll sell you some of our stuff out of our cellar," and it was a bunch of Chimay Blue, and we'll give you a Chimay Blue or Chimay glass. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, let me take some of that. I will drink it. I like the glassware. It sounds fun, and it's the way to keep a business alive throughout the thing. So yeah.
I'm still a bit confused on Georgia laws as it pertains to that, because like we've got a place here called Red's Beer Garden where you can buy stuff in package and open it there and drink. Then there's other places where you can buy it. What was the name of the place that closed down that was in Roswell, Brian, that we enjoyed? Not really important to the story, but you could buy and open there, or you could buy and take Tap and Six, or take it with you. And I know that technically a bar is a retail license. So as far as that goes, like a brew pub could technically open a bottle shop there because of the license they have, to my understanding there. So
it's all really confusing, and I think I don't think it's helpful to anybody at all. It's except perhaps
to lock it down.
It's not helping the consumer. It's definitely not helping the people that are running the business. It may be helping somebody who doesn't want competition in some way, but there's no benefit. You're not helping anybody out by these distinctions anymore. They're so, what's the word, anachronistic? No, maybe that's not it. Like antiquated. Antiquated
is that antiquated?
Like
constipated.
Who is actually helped by this? Nobody.
Everyone loses.
Everybody hates it. The people selling the beverages hate it, and the people buying the beverages hate it. I'm like, why is this still a thing? Why?
Everybody, government, good old government. All right, guys, let's get into some show here. I'm going to give us about 5 seconds of silence and bring us in. And welcome to the Beer Guys Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining this week. We've got just a ton of amazing topics to discuss. There's crazy liquors out there, Brian. I know that's on deck for some of our conversations. We're going to talk. Brian's got some hop news for us and such. Just a cornucopia, Brian, a treasure trove of topics there. I am Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt, how you doing?
I'm doing well. We have a virtual sunken treasure ship full of interesting things to talk about. We've got there's a collaboration that we need to talk about to benefit the people that were affected negatively by the Maui wildfire. It's weird that I say negatively. I don't think anybody was positively.
There was no positive effects.
No, there was no upside to that at all. We have some fun beer stats. We have an answer to the question, a very important question. What can't you age at the bottom of the ocean right off the California coast? And a lot of people have been asking that.
I can't wait to find out, man.
Yeah, we have an answer for that. So, and we also have Mo Mike Nate here with us. How are you doing, Mo Mike Nate?
I'm doing well. I'm it's surprising that it's already been a week, but I'm here and ready to talk beer with you guys.
That's what we're here for, Nate. That is what we're here for. Y'all, before we get into some other stuff, we want to tell you about a couple festivals we're going to be doing here. If you're in the Atlanta area, we'd love for you to come and hang out with us. I just got some new stickers today. They're bigger and improved, longer, bigger, larger, and improved. So
and uncut.
And these are actually cut. Actually.
Oh, they're cut. Okay,
so we're good here. But if you're watching the live stream, you will see me struggling to get the camera to recognize them. Right, it's not going to happen. So you'll just have to trust me on those. But on the 26th of August, we will be at the Battery with Live at the Battery Beer Fest. That is presented by Terrapin Beer Company and Live at the Battery. It's the ATL Beer Fest. There's going to be a ton of beer samples there. There's going to be local vendors. There'll be food. There'll be lots of fun. That day, the Braves are on the road. I believe they're playing the Giants, Brian, and still a fun time. Even if the Braves aren't there, there's still a fun time at the Battery. Come out, especially there's a beer fest there that day, Brian. So you should come out and join us for that. Then a couple weeks later, Brian. Yes, sir.
Don't they usually play it when you're outside? Don't they away games? Don't they usually play it on a giant monitor?
I believe
there
they have the Yep, I believe they have the big screen there. There's the way Truist Park is, there's a big green area there, like
Mhm.
the commons, the greens, the lawn, and there's a very, very, very big screen, like movie theater size, that they put the game up on there. So you can come hang out, have some beer, come see us, get a sticker. We'll give you a sticker, no problem. We got you. And watch the Braves on the beer screen while you sample some beers. It'll be a good time there. So then a couple weeks after that, on the 9th of September, we are going to be all the way up at Good Word Brewing in Duluth, Georgia, for the Le Bon Beer Festival. And that's a celebration of wild beers, saisons, and oysters. We're going to have oysters there. So it's oyster and some. I know last year, Brian, they had some natural wines there as well.
Mhm.
Yes, they
Lots
did.
of oysters, and it's a really cool time. We've talked about beer festivals and how kind of what people prefer for a beer fest is changing. The mega fest don't quite kill it as much as they used to, but this is a very specialized, very curated list of breweries attending, and some real special stuff going on. So that would be a good one. So August 26th, come join us at the Battery, Truist Park, for the ATL Beer Fest with Terrapin Beer Company and Live at the Battery. September 9th, come up to Duluth, Georgia, and join us for Le Bon Beer Festival presented by Good Word Brewing. So
That'd be a
there.
great
So
time.
there's that. Beer Fest, Brian. And we're about to
Excited.
roll into September, which means the Oktoberfest stuff is going to start to go down. And we've got a pending plan for that. We don't want to say anything because we haven't confirmed it yet, but we may have something going on for Oktoberfest as well.
That would be cool. I look
It would be
forward to
cool.
the season being ready, the time being right for Oktoberfest beers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not there yet. I have not had a single Oktoberfest beer yet, and I don't. It's well, you know what? It's cooler out there today.
It
It's a
was.
very
Yeah.
very temperate 83 degrees out there right now, and I still don't know if I want an Oktoberfest beer. I think it needs to 70s max, like high 70s. Okay, now maybe I'm thinking about it. So
Maybe you
it's
crack you one for breakfast because it was 63 this morning, Brian. So
oh, was it?
it would
There
be
you go.
below your acceptable temperature there to consume.
Okay, you know what? Actually, yeah,
Yeah, you're
that
good to
would be
go then.
fine.
You're good to go. Brian, what if I wanted if I wanted brunch, but I didn't feel like chewing? Is there anything you know of that I
Huh.
might be able to do to take
Yeah.
care of that?
Yes, if you've had dental work and you can't chew on a full
Yeah.
brunch,
Mm-hmm.
what you could do is go out and get Eggo Waffles' new collaboration with Sugarland's Distilling Company. It's called Brunch in a Jar. It's a quote sipping cream. I'm really not familiar with what this is, but my lactose intolerance is already bugging me just reading that. It's a 20% ABV bottle of stuff that's a
Bottle
combination
of
of
stuff. Okay.
yeah, it's a combination of things. It's waffles, maple syrup, rich butter apparently, and something that's a hint of smoky bacon. I don't know if they actually put bacon in the distilled spirit that went into it or not, but they're releasing that for National Waffle Day, which is coming up. Is that August 24th, which I think is still
Mhm.
off in the
Okay.
future for us. I don't know what to think about this. I think I would taste it. Would you guys buy it, try it, or just completely pass on this?
So I
So
would definitely try it. I wouldn't buy it. Um, I've had a bunch of their products before, both their moonshine and their sipping creams, and they do a solid job. I know I was largely panning it in the chat today when this came up, but I mean, I'd say it's worth a try. And then I did a little research into it. They're also going to release an Eggo Nog, so a little breakfast inspired eggnog sip and cream as well. And I think either one of those is going to be potentially tasty.
well, that was my thought when I first heard about it, I'm like, that's gross. That's just gross. But then you read the description, I'm like, this sounds like eggnog. They're just they've got eggnog, you got sweet maple syrup, a little butteriness. I mean, sometimes you get that flavor. The dairy is going to bring a little bit of that flavor there.
Sure.
A little hint of smoke. I think a lot of times when they say smoky bacon, a lot of times it's just a little smoke hint that you tell yourself is bacon because you're expecting it. But um, reading the description and thinking about it and thinking about eggnog, this sounds a lot less disgusting to me than it did when I just heard brunch in a jar. So I would try it. I'd
I
like to
hear
try it before I buy it. Your question, would you try it or buy it or trash it? I would try it. I'd say I'd buy it, but I want to try it before I go put money out there.
Yeah, when you bring up eggnog, that whole season, it seems more appropriate. Then I actually like eggnog. I don't really ever drink it because it's rough on the old system, but I generally like eggnog, and I've y- I've had other. I don't know if it's the same thing, the sipping cream, but that key lime cream stuff that I've had
Mhm.
on cocktails, I like
Yeah.
that. I know, again, it's a cream thing, but man, that stuff's great in a hot weather blended into basically that's ice blended whatever, a daiquiri something or other. It's fantastic. I looked around for that when I was out of town this past weekend. I did not come across any of it, but
Sitting on the beach, sipping some lime cream there, like key
yeah,
lime
oh
cream.
yeah, like
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
cold, yeah, mixed in with a bunch of other booze, and like not by itself. By itself, it's too much, but floated on top of a daiquiri or whatever it was I had it with. Oh, it was beautiful. It
Be
was
good there.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
You
really nice.
talk brunch in a jar, Brian, and one of the things I love chicken and waffles for brunch. So if they want to get me, if we had fried chicken in liquor form, I'd be all in for it.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well, it's
mm.
you know what? It would be great. I have great news for you, but not so great because you'd have to be in the UK. But there's a limited edition KFC collaboration with a rum company called Dead Man's Fingers out there called 11 Herbed and Spiced Rum. And it's so limited edition. I went looking for it to see, all right, can I get it? Is it possible to get it over here? It's already sold out. But apparently they have mixed some amount of the 11 herbs and spices, though they specifically mentioned salt, pepper, and breading. So I'm not 100% sure if they really got legit stuff in there. But yeah, for whatever reason, UK only limited deal. I'm like, KFC? I guess it. I think KFC, and I think, well, yeah, that's a US thing. That's an American thing. No, KFC
Right.
is everywhere, and I guess apparently it's really popular over there, and they decided to do the collaboration over there. So if you know anybody in the UK, you might be able to get you some KFC rum. So that's neat. And I
Is
think
it
today's National Rum Day too on that topic, isn't it?
the day
For
we're
the US, yeah.
recording this? Is
Oh, the day we're recording
correct.
that. Okay,
Not
my
this.
bad.
If you hear this podcast, then that it is not National Rum Day when the podcast released. So yeah.
You
But it
can
is now.
pretend it is though and have
You can
some rum.
pretend. You can time
Yeah.
travel with
Yeah.
us there. We won't judge you on that. No. So Brian, is it there's not a lot of info here right now. Is it supposed to taste like the chicken?
Yeah, yeah, it's supposed to have essences of the herbs, spices, and breading of the chicken, but they were also tasting those of like vanilla and all the other things that
Hmm.
you would get from rum. So it's supposed to be a combination of the spices from the chicken and the breading with all the things you get with the rum. I don't think actual
All right.
chicken flavor would be involved. I didn't see that, but I don't know. It's possible they distilled it with some chicken bouillon cubes or something like that.
Right.
Which sounds gross to me, but I mean, until you try it, you don't know. But
I
yeah,
think
it's
even
the
just the
spices.
yeah, and I think just the herbs and spices in there, that doesn't sound like it would be good to me. But again, it's something I would try if it was if it was available to me. So, but I'm sure those are not the craziest beverages out there. Brian, we had a chili cheese beer,
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
so we had that. I'd like to round up like all the super insane stuff, like the stuff that was made knowing, hey, this is nuts. I think Martin House, didn't they do a buffalo wing and a ranch beer? Like
I
they did
think
a
so.
Colis there. I think they've done some
Hot dog water.
glizzy
Yeah.
beers and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
fun.
They
Well, Brian, on a little more realistic note, there you've got some news from Bart Watson at the Brewers Association. What's going on over at the BA?
Yeah, so it was just a little tweet with he saw a study from the USDA's Northwest Regional Crop Production Report, and he had some comments on it. And this is really harvested just from Twitter, so not even a full-fledged story, but there's an 8% decline in acreage dedicated to the growth of hops, but the actual hop production growth production is actually going to be up 2% in 2023. He thinks that's from a combination of factors, better crop yields just in general. So I guess it's just a better year for hops, and growers are switching over to higher yielding hop varieties. So they're getting rid of those ones that are just problematic and going with the ones that are guaranteed to produce. So he also says he sees now why people were some growers were hoping for a greater reduction of hop acreage, just because I think this makes it tough when I don't know if the demand is keeping up with the supply right now. I think we're in a strange spot for that. The other interesting news that I saw in that report is corn production is up 12% in Idaho. So good news for Corn Kid and anybody else who likes corn.
It's
So
corn.
yeah, it's corn. So
Big
you can be
lumpy
happy
knobs.
about that. There will be more corn on the market than you know what to do with. So yeah,
Also
it's
a popular brewing ingredient, Brian. So
it's a fair
good to
point
go
too.
there.
It's a good way of keeping costs down. So if there's more of it, that means it would be less expensive. So if you're looking to dry out your various light lagers and such, there you go. And I hear people use it occasionally, even in IPAs, to dry them out a bit too. So
Okay.
I'm not opposed to any of that. It's generally good news all around from that angle, Tim.
A little drier, a little sweetness there from the corn, a
Yeah.
little corniness there. Cool. Awesome. We want to talk about our beers of the week here. And as always, want to thank our friends at the Nest for sponsoring this segment. Craft beer barbecue in downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. One of our favorites. Brian, I haven't had their nachos in forever. And they used to,
Neither
you
have
can
I.
get a half order of nachos or a full order. A full order is served on like a full beer tray. And they just really load it up there. You can get, their chopped pork or chopped chicken on there with all the typical nacho goodies on there. They are excellent. We always get them as an appetizer, to be honest, Brian. They could be their own meal if you wanted to, but we
They
share.
really are.
We share amongst some people there. So, it's good to go. Also, they're going to have a ton of great beers on tap. They always have a good variety of Georgia beers as well as beers from elsewhere. They've got some spirits in there to get you a cocktail going, wine, and even coffee, Brian, nitro coffee if you're feeling that. So go check them out. The Nest, downtown Kennesaw, Georgia. For our beers, Brian, we have got some Oyster City. We have Hellas Lager there, Tate's Hellas from Oyster
Yes.
City Brewing. I believe you visited them last week. Is that correct, Brian? Did you make
Ye-
it to Oyster City?
I did indeed. Apalachicola, I think I'm saying it
Okay.
right. A very
All right.
Yep.
small little town on the quote unquote forgotten coast of Florida and the Panhandle. It's a nice little, it's a small little place, and like a
Mhm.
lot of places down there, not so air conditioned. A lot of fans, but
Okay. Get
they
that breeze.
yeah, I got that breeze. They probably had the most expansive tap list of any place I went to, bars and everything included. They had a lot of things on tap, and I had to drink around. But unofficially on my trip, I think the Hellas Lager was my default beverage. I actually had
Yeah.
one before I left, and it just kind of put me in that mood. And so anywhere I could find one, I got their the Oyster City Hellas.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Going to Prairie Artisan Ales, going over to Oklahoma. Brian has this spicy pickle monster. I think that was on deck a few weeks ago, but it got bumped for a different guest. So
It did.
that one's back on here from Terrapin, Wake and Bake Coffee Oatmeal Imperial Stout, a classic, a favorite. That's going to be a good one. We also have from Captain Lawrence, we got Citra Dreams, which is a DDH hazy IPA. And from Jester King, we've got Queen's Order, which is a farmhouse ale with honey and lemon peel. And a classic, since we still got a little bit of summer left, I've got a Sierra Nevada Summer Fest that I am working on right here. And so, yeah,
Is
plenty
that your
of good
first one?
beers. No, I've got a few. I think this may be my last one though that I have.
Oh, okay.
So I think I'm sending off summer with this last one that I've got here.
Indeed. I'm curious what you think of that, because we've talked about the Summerfest before and you hadn't had it, and you seemed interested in finding it. So did it live up to expectation? Did it live up to the hype?
It did not. No, sir. For
It
me
did not.
personally, it did not. I don't think it's my personal preferred profile. So I'm not saying that as anything against the beer, because I know from all kinds of people who I know good beer rated this very highly. I enjoy it, Brian. Maybe my expectations were set too high because many people were saying, wow, this is one of the greatest beers I've had in a long time. This is the beer of the summer. This is the one to get. So I had really, really high expectations for the beer. It's a good beer, man. It's a good beer, but it did not quite hit the hype level that I expected from it.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. It did get a lot of buzz. I think
It did. Yeah.
it was a little bit trendy just to like it because of what it was, I think, also. But I think it's great. And I was pleasantly
That's cool.
surprised because
Yeah.
I did not have the same level of expectations. So
Right. Yeah, you got it. You were an early adopter there, as they say, right?
Indeed, yes. As soon as I heard about it, I'm like, I got to get on that if it's good.
Right. Absolutely. Brian, you've got plenty of news to share for us. The first story we've got up here, uh, I'm going to say some positive news out of a very bad situation. It's hard to say this is good news or anything, but related to the fires in Hawaii, which were absolutely devastating, you've got some news. Maui Brewing is in front of some efforts to help rebuild there, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And I think everybody by now heard about the wildfire. I keep wanting to say that wildfire that ripped through the city or the town of Lahaina. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's on the island of Maui, and I think they're still compiling the extent of the damage and the loss of life and all that sort of thing. It's tragic. It's hard to know what's going on, but Maui Brewing is from that town, and they still have two locations there. And fortunately, those locations survived the fire. There's two other breweries in town that weren't so lucky. Kohala and Waikiki Brewing, they were completely destroyed by the fire. Um, Maui Brewing is now working on providing aid to those who were affected by the wildfire, including temporarily converting their facilities in that town to community kitchens. They're setting up donation centers in their locations on the island of Oahu, and they're setting up the Kokua project. I hope I'm saying that right. Kokua, in which breweries around the world will donate the proceeds of a special beer they make from a recipe created by Maui Brewing Company. If you'd like to help donate to the people of Lahaina, you can give to several recommended charities. The TS Restaurants Legacy of Aloha, which will help the affected employees and their families. The Makai, Makai Foundation, which will help support rebuilding efforts. The Maui Brewing Fire Fund, which will help raise funds to deal with any additional logistical costs and things on the ground that's there. If you're a brewery and you'd like to sign up to participate in the Kokua project, you can find more at the Maui Brewing website. Go to mauibrewing.com/KOKUA. KOKUA. So I looked at the site. They don't actually have the recipe posted yet. I think that they may still be working on figuring out what that is, but you sign up for it so they can kind of keep track of who else participating. So it's
Very
already out
cool.
there. It's live and you can support it. And I've started seeing that mentioned all over the place in the news. So I think that we'll have a lot of participation in that.
We'll get these links up on our website. We'll put them in the show notes for this episode so you can go check that stuff out if you'd like to. But a good cause. I think anytime something major happens, Brian, breweries always pull together. They're big community. You know, for those that are against beer, take a look at this. Look at who comes together. I know a lot of people do, but breweries are there for their communities. You know, communities are there for the breweries, and the brewers do the same. So a really bad situation over there, and I hope that their efforts can make a difference, can help them. I spoke to my cousin who his fiance girlfriend is from Maui. And I asked him, "Hey, how's everything?" He's like, "Well, of course she's fine. She moved to the contiguous state. She moved to Mississippi maybe 6 months ago, so she's not there. Got affected, but she said she talked to like her three friends back there, and they're like, we've got nothing. You know, it just
Mhm.
tore through there. So
That's
terrible,
terrible.
terrible situation. Absolutely. Brian, on some
Um,
better news here. Nate, you have something to share, sir?
well, I was going to say that in the past, we've seen another brewery have a lot of success doing a program like this. Sierra Nevada, back in 2019, when the campfire ravaged that whole town, razed it completely to the ground. They
Yeah,
did the Resilience IPA, and they were able to raise millions for the rebuild fund. So hopefully, the beer drinking community, but also the breweries will band together and be able to do a similar effort.
that'd be
That
awesome. Yeah, I'd forgot about that, Nate. Good
That's
point. Yeah.
that's a really good point because I did read that is exactly what they modeled this after was the resilience IPA. That's basically the idea behind it. So that did really well. This has huge amount of press on it right now. So I think this will also do well. I think it's amazing that how quickly the brewery turned around and got on this, and I think that that's an indication of where breweries are mentally. They're like they see a problem, they're on it immediately. It's not like let's talk about this and they will just look good in PR. No, it's immediate. It's an immediate
Mhm.
situation. We see a problem in our community. We're on it. We're fixing it. What can we do? And I do like that about beer. So
Helping
craft beer
out, man.
especially.
That
Absolutely.
is what it's all about. Well, Brian, on some positive news, something a little fun. Treehouse is expanding and kind of unusual expansion for a brewery, right?
Yeah, this is a fun one. So it's they're expanding, but not in the way you'd expect from a successful craft brewery, or even moderately successful craft brewery. They're opening a golf course. That may make a little bit more sense if you remember that Treehouse bought the Tewksbury Country Club last year. So I think the golf course was attached to that, but when they bought it, it wasn't open. They've made major improvements to the country club since then, adding a speakeasy and outfitting the basement with, I think I saw something crazy like 78 taps. I forgot to write that part down, but it's an expansive amount of taps. I think all of the beer itself will, for the most part, be supplied by an external facility, but they have brewing capacity there, and they have a lot of capacity to deliver beer. The owners say there's a lot of overlap between craft beer and golfers. That's their rationale behind this. But detractors say golfers generally drink macros and basic cocktails in the clubhouse. So I don't know. I'm going to throw it to Mo Mike Nate, because I know when I posted this in our Discord chat, his first response was WTF. So what do
Yeah.
you think about this, Mo Mike?
Well, so giving it a little bit more thought, there are a lot of breweries out there that are getting into the distilling sphere of things, and so maybe they can capitalize, and if they are making their own spirits, or this is an avenue for them to make their own spirits and start making a lot of money off of it. It is a good point. I worked at a country club when I was in high school, and a lot of those guys really do just enjoy those macro beers, but I haven't worked at a country club in 15 years, and maybe that's changed. Maybe the younger generation golfers do like those big craft boys, or they like a craft lager like the Oyster City that you're drinking tonight, Brian.
Could be. Could be.
I absolutely love how Mo Mike Nate's takes are always just left field. Just like, hey, Nate, they're opening a golf course. What do you think of that? Well, a lot of breweries are getting into distilling. So it's a good. He's just gonna bring it. He doesn't care
Just trying to
about your
connect the
topic.
dots, my guy.
He doesn't have any care for your topic, Brian. He'll
Now,
talk
to
about
be
what he wants
fair,
to. Maybe Pokemon cards.
that's right. Now, to be fair, they actually already do distilling, and they have recently opened a cidery, so they've gotten into a lot of different things. They are basically printing money, and they can do any kind of crazy thing that they can think of. And so far, all of their ventures have been successful. So, I mean, that's something.
My thoughts, Brian, are if it's a great avenue, if they want to get into NASCAR racing, then I say they go for it. Absolutely. It's a great avenue to do that. No. So my first thought when they said this, like talking about this with golfers, my thought was exactly what they said. Golfers are macro drinkers. I personally do not know a lot of my craft beer nerd friends that are also golf nerds. I just don't know. I personally don't know a lot of crossover there, and my reality is reality, Brian. So, it may be different up there in near the Tewksbury Country Club, and I'm sure that the Treehouse guys know what they're up to there. Even if it's not people going, maybe even if macro drinkers or golfers are macro drinkers, people may go there for golf and discover the beer, or maybe some of the beer nerds go there and discover golf. So maybe it's brilliance, Brian. So
It could well be, and I imagine they will have a lighter beer that's available for people who prefer that. One argument I did see that I think it was one of the owners was saying that when everything closed down for COVID, people still did a lot of golfing, and the people, when they were doing the golfing, the clubhouses and everything were shut down. You didn't have the carts and bringing around the beer. People were bringing their own beer, and they started bringing craft beer. So they're arguing that people got used to golfing with actually good beer. Not to throw shade
okay.
on the macros. There's a lot to love about a good light lager that's well done, but people got used to actually golfing with IPAs and things like that, which you wouldn't normally think about. Because yeah, I do kind of think about it, giving it more thought. Definitely a very lighter styles is what you'd be doing, because you'd fill up your golf bag with a 6-pack of them, and if those were all tall boys of IPA, you're not finishing those 18 holes. You're just not doing it.
I say we do a stout round where
A stout-
it's yes, every hole, your foursome shares a 750 of Imperial Stout, a different one on every hole.
Can we make it a milk stout?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to have a fifth one because this has to be on video. This absolutely needs to be remembered. I'm sure of it there.
Absolutely.
So,
yes.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I tell you what, sometimes I don't know what I want to drink and I'm just looking or eat and I need a place to go to maybe just roll the dice, get a beer and a bite. Do you know anywhere I might be able to do that?
You know what? When you mention roll the dice and figure out what you want to get, I do have an idea. So last week I mentioned Truck and Tap, and I'm going to mention them again right now. Their newest locations in Lawrenceville. That's the one I did mention, and I liked how strong the tap list was there. Like I was comparing that to Alpharetta because I was looking at Alpharetta for the last time I did the Truck and Tap roulette, and I was thinking maybe I want to go over to Lawrenceville instead. So I decided this time I'm going to play the Truck and Tap Roulette again, but this time with Lawrenceville. And like before, I'm going to go random with it, completely random. I randomly selected a beer from the 20 taps available, and I randomly selected an item from the food truck. And to make it more interesting, the food truck in question today, when I was playing it, features beer from all around the world. I think it's I forget the exact name of the food truck. Is like World Buffet or the Excitement of the World, or I don't remember exactly what it was. But they've got everything from gyros to empanadas to pulled pork sandwiches. So my pairing this week was a shrimp po' boy and an Upland raspberry, which is a raspberry barrel aged sour. Now, this is a combo I don't think I would have ever come up with, but I think it has some potential. And if I were there now, I would absolutely order it. So I would stick to this. But Brian, I can hear you asking, how can I play Truck and Tap Roulette? It's easy. Just head to your nearest Truck and Tap, Woodstock, Alpharetta, Duluth, or Lawrenceville, and ask Google for some random numbers. Then order the food and the beer associated with those numbers, or you can try your luck at home by visiting the Truck and Tap website, truckandtap.com, and see how you do with your pairing. But practice will only get you so far. You do need to go to Truck and Tap and actually try the beer pairing. That's where the magic really happens. And for everybody's safety, mulligans are allowed if you pull up a pumpkin beer. This is allowed. You can get a do-over. So yeah, Truck and Tap is, I think that's the option that you're looking for, Tim. Now you can do it.
You nailed it, Brian. That is exactly what I need in my life. But sometimes, Brian, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what I want. I know I want some barbecue. Maybe I want a Frito chili pie and some country fried ribs. Sometimes I know that's what I want. And I want a cold beer. I'm looking for a simple Mexican lager to go with my Frito chili pie. When that happens, Brian, I head to Truist Park and I go to Terrapin Brewery Atlanta, which is Fox Brothers Barbecue in the tap room there. I ordered up my country fried ribs, ordered up my Frito chili pie. I get a Los Bravos Mexican lager on tap there, and I'm set, man. I've got exactly what I want, and I know exactly where to go to get it. And Brian, if you go, maybe you don't want what I want at the Terrapin tap room. That's fine. They've got a lot of great beers on there. They rotate the taps all the time. There's always something new on at the Terrapin Brewery at Truist Park. And Brian, like we said at the beginning of the show, we're going to be there for a festival on August 26th. Come out, check us out. If you're there when the Braves are in town, when the Braves are dominating the playoffs here in a little while, you can still get you a beer from the Terrapin Tap Room, even if you're inside at the game. Or if you're just hanging out in the park, go right up to, they've got an outdoor bar now, Brian. So you don't even have to go inside. You can get a beer right there at the Battery. As always, we thank Truck and Tap and Terrapin Brewery Atlanta for sponsoring Beer Guys Radio. We greatly appreciate it. Y'all, we're going to take a quick break, refresh our beers, freshen our faces, and we'll be back in less than 5 minutes. We're back for the attack. Oh, headphones. I'll need headphones here. Let me get some headphones.
That will be helpful.
There we
Lungs for
go.
the head.
Now I can hear. That is helpful. That is absolutely correct. What are you guys sipping on now?
I have spicy pickle monster. I've finally gotten around to open it after a lot of false starts with this beer. Like planning to
marking that
open it,
Jester
not
King.
getting to it.
Gotcha. How
Sorry,
is your
I'm
spicy
marking.
pickle monster?
So this is interesting. This is the second time I've had it. I actually tasted it at a Truck and Tap a few weeks ago, and it's not coming across as much of the funky Berliner out of the can as it did off the tap at Truck and Tap. But it had more of that
Okay.
lactic kind of semi yogurty type of thing I get from some Berliners. I'm not getting that as much out of this, but I only just took one sip. Hang on, I need to try it a little bit more.
Okay, Nate, you said you're on your Jester King over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got that like tart, farmhouse, flavor to it that I really enjoy. The honey just kind of, it's a little light, flowery note to it, and the lemon peel just comes along really nicely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, Brian, does that taste like a pickle, like a spicy pickle?
It does. It actually kind of reminds me of the brine off of the fermented pickles that I was trying to do. It's like that, maybe a little less intense, because there is a little bit of that lactic fermentation flavor in there. I think because this is so cold, it's hiding some of that little bit of Berliner funk that I got off the taps at Truck and Tap, because, well, this thing has got to be it's got to be borderline freezing.
Fridge
I don't know
cold.
why it's so cold.
Fridge cold there. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Extremely cold.
Okay.
So. What are you drinking, Tim? Still drinking?
I'm still sipping Summerfest. Yeah, I nurse them through here, man. I don't. Yeah, I'm not hammering through them. We're talking so much during the show that it's hard for me to get a lot of beers in here. So
I usually switch over. When we take the break, I usually pour my next beer, and it's just because we're so involved in things. It's hard to switch over and drink beers without taking a pause in the show. And
it is.
The show's a fast moving show. We can't just be stopping to pour beers.
It's going absolutely. Yeah. But all right, Brian, let's get back into it. I'll give a little pause, then I'll bring you in. Brian, do you like beer stats?
I do like beer stats.
I do too, man. It's interesting to see, what we get from that. But you looked up some info or found some info on the average price of a case of beer across the U.S. So what'd you find out?
That's right. And I love these, and they're I think that these are done more as kind of a press release from the company that's compiled the data than anything that's super meaningful, but it's fun to look at because I think it does indicate something. So the average price of a cost of beer per state. This was compiled by the online alcohol delivery service, very accurately named Alcohol Delivered. I think they're actually out of Australia. I don't know why they're looking at our stats, but they're looking at the stats of the price of a case of Bud and Miller Lite in every state. That's their benchmark. That's the word for it, benchmark. And it's been a while since, if it's been a while since you've bought a case of macros, you might be in for a surprise. What do you guys think is the average price of a case of light macro beer, Bud or Miller or Coors or whatever? And when was the last time you actually looked at that? Because I at one point, I know we've all done this.
Are we talking 24 pack? I'm assuming that's
24 packs. Yeah,
I would think right around $20 would be my guess. About a $20 case for a light macro beer.
Okay, you know what? And maybe I was looking at the wrong thing, but I was thinking back the last time I really looked at the price on these things, and I was thinking it was closer to 13. So, who was closer? And it turns out you guys are. I'm way off on that, and maybe because I'm really old or I have a really bad memory. But the average U.S. price of a case of light macro beer is $20.37. Oh. The state with the cheapest beer is Illinois with $16.43 a case. So if you decide where you live based upon the price of beer, you need to move to Illinois. Which state do you think has the most expensive beer?
Alaska,
yeah, or Hawaii. Yeah. I'm going to say Hawaii or Alaska there. Yeah.
So which one would you think would be higher in this case? Alaska, because it's connected by land, or Hawaii, it's way the heck out in the ocean?
I
Yeah,
think
but connected by land doesn't
Alaska.
really mean much because it's still
Yeah, it's way up there. It does that
you
doesn't
have to
matter.
drive through no man's land, basically.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
probably going by ship. They probably get to there the same way. They're probably taking
Mhm.
container ships, whether it's Alaska or Hawaii. I'm going to
you know
say
what?
Alaska. I think it's the more rugged, more remote. I would guess they're having more stuff going to Hawaii than they are Alaska. So therefore,
Mhm.
by my logic, throwing the detective hat on, I think Alaska's going to get it.
You're correct. It is
Okay. All
Alaska,
right. Yeah.
and I thought about it. And I'm like, well, they're connected by land, so I mean, it's just a matter of driving a truck up there. But it is really, really, really remote, and there's not a lot of population in that part. Whereas Hawaii draws a lot of tourists and makes a lot of money. It would make sense that there's probably regular shipping containers going out there. So yes, Alaska, you're going to pay $33.62 a case. So that's a considerable, like 13.30 more a case in Alaska than you would on the average. So the top
For light
five cheap,
macro?
yeah, buying macros. Yes, this is the cheap beer. You're like it gets
Ugh.
more expensive from there if you can even find it. And I think that is a problem with folks that live up in Alaska and those environments. So the top five cheapest states in order of cheapness, as we said, Illinois, New York is the second cheapest, which surprised the heck out of me at $16.72 a case. North and South Carolina and Kansas are all tied for I guess that's third place at $17.30 a case. Here in Georgia, we rank 28th in the list with $20.25 a case, and we're actually cheaper than our neighbors in Alabama and Tennessee. I thought, with everything else, I've compared prices. When I've traveled up to Chattanooga, restaurants are less expensive. I figured, oh, just go up there and you get cheaper beer. No, they're actually more expensive than we are somehow, and I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
that may be a
Hmm.
morality type of situation we're talking about there, but. One surprise is the second most expensive state on the list, and you'd probably guess that it would be Hawaii, but where do you think it? Would you have guessed that? Would you have guessed Hawaii?
That would definitely be
That
my
would have been
guess.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a Wyoming, which blows my mind. Wyoming is
Huh.
$28.78 a case, and they've gotten Hawaii beat, which is by about $4 and change. So it's
Wow.
pretty incredible
Considerable,
that
huh?
yeah, it's actually cheaper to get beer in
Hmm.
Hawaii than it is to get in Wyoming.
That's
So
crazy.
I wonder about this if this is indicative of just these beers or if this translates in any way to craft beer. I know that places like Alaska, the supply is probably not there, but everywhere else, I wonder if there is a similar price differential in, say, your tall boy, your 16 ounce of hazy IPA, if there would be a noticeable difference, or if those play in different
So
arenas and have their own
are these
things.
retail prices that we're talking here? Because if so, taxes could have a lot to do with it, depending on
Mhm.
what each state is doing, tax
Yes.
wise there. That could have a lot. So Brian, I got a question for you. We're gonna be educational today. We're gonna do some geography lessons because you commented about Alaska being attached by land and quote, I think you said just drive it up there.
Yes.
I would like to know, Brian, how far do you think it is to drive from Anchorage, Alaska to Fairbanks, Alaska? Same
Anchorage to
state. Remember, we're in the same state here. We're going Anchorage to Fairbanks.
I seem to think I've heard that that's like an 8-hour drive. Like it's a really big state. How far off am I?
According to the Googles, that will take you about 6 hours and 8 minutes, and it is 359 miles. So just to give
359.
you
Okay.
a layout. Now, Brian, a follow-up question, once again, doing a little geography play here. How long would it take you to drive from Juneau, Alaska to Anchorage, Alaska?
I'm trying to think of where where all these places
We're
are
in the
because
same state, so,
my
it couldn't
Alaska.
take too long, right?
I'm going to say that's still probably in the 7-hour range, maybe 8 hour.
You're very close, Brian. It's 20 hours.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
wait, wait. Oh, is one of them down that little like
One's
strip?
kinda down, yeah, you're kinda south, so you do have to kinda take an L there to go. It is,
Oh, yeah.
848 miles from one to the other there if you're driving, and I'm sure you could jump a plane and save some time there, but if you're driving, that's a 20-hour drive in the same state.
Yeah, that's right. And you basically have to drive halfway down the down the height of Canada to get to the one city.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
So
thinking about the greater landmass. I'd forgotten about the little strip down there. Yeah, that's crazy.
it is.
It's a very large state, and
And
a surprising amount of remoteness to it too.
our maps totally misrepresent the size of Alaska because of the projections that we have there. So I don't think a lot of people know the scope of how big it is there. But yeah, so there you go, a little education if you're thinking of going to Alaska. The only reason I knew it was so far from Fairbanks to Anchorage is when Smalls went up there on vacation. There were breweries in both cities that she wanted to visit, and she's like, yeah, I looked, and it's like 6-7 hour drive. So, it's
Yeah.
not like you can do a quick little trip there. You can get to every major city in the state of Georgia within 2 hours, I think. Four max, right? Over to the coast.
Yeah, I think if you drive from, I
Mhm.
know driving from Atlanta proper to Savannah is probably in the neighborhood of 4 to 4.5 hours. So maybe some of the ones like Brunswick and down on the coast heading towards, yeah, if you're driving the whole way across, I'm guessing maybe 5, like if end to end, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, right at it. If you're doing one corner to the other, and you can stop at Buc-ee's on either end of the state because we've got one
That's
on
true.
both ends, north and south. We got you covered here with the Buc-ee's. But Brian, there's all kinds of interesting ways to age your beer. Maybe you got a cellar there, you put it in, keep it dark, keep it cool, put it back, let it chill for a while, controlled temperatures and all that. But not just beer, but wine too. We've got some interesting news here of some ocean aged bottles.
Yeah, so this isn't a story about beer, but it reminds me of a story I read about beer not too long ago. A California winery has had their ocean aged bottles seized and destroyed. The name of the company is Ocean Fathoms, and they started sinking crates of wine in 2017, and they were apparently selling the bottles that they brought back up after they'd aged on the ocean floor off of California for about $500 a bottle. The basic concept behind this is that the bottles would age well in the optimal temperatures on the ocean floor just off the coast of Santa Barbara. That makes sense to me. And apparently, the constant motion of the currents would reduce sedimentation, which maybe sounds like bro science or whatever the equivalent is in in alcohol, but perhaps that's a real thing. It turns out various government agencies took issues with their unusual aging method. The FDA said that the wine was adulterated and not fit for human consumption because it had been submerged in the ocean and potentially was contaminated. So they also took issue with the fact that the company had a lack of federal permits and approvals to do this. So they didn't have label approval. I think they were missing licenses. So I think that they may have been playing fast and loose with legalities. The state of
Willy-nilly, Brian, is the technical term for that, I
Willy
think.
nilly, yes.
Yeah.
The state of California was mad because they weren't getting the sales taxes that these guys were collecting. I think they were pocketing them, and they also had
Okay.
mentioned violation of environmental laws, but they didn't specify what laws they were. So maybe it was kind of a matter of they. I know California, you have to do a lot of environmental impact surveys on anything you're going to work on, and my guess is they didn't do any of those. So California
Yeah.
has a problem with that.
Everything's a violation in California.
So the big reason to bring this up is it reminds me of this other story back in 2021. Multiple breweries in Mar del Plata, Argentina, were aging beer in a sunken ship off the coast. And I don't think we got to talk about this, and made me sad. So they had 185 gallons of high gravity dark ale, 11% plus, in a barrel, and the breweries planned to blend it with other beers once it was done aging. It was a big collaboration. I think there was a festival going to be involved with it. Part of the attraction of doing this, aside from the marketing angle, was to see what would happen to the beer as it fermented under pressure. And I have read other things about the benefits of fermenting beer under a certain amount of pressure. I think it was like 66 feet down or something like that. It was apparently deeper than it had been done by other places before.
Okay.
I don't
All
know
right.
what I don't know how that
Crazy.
works out in terms of pressure, but it gets more interesting. What really makes a story cool is, well, not cool, actually kind of tragic, is the beer was stolen from the shipwreck by unknown divers. So people knew it was
Pirates.
down there, and divers went and stole the barrel. And what's really sad about that, unless the thieves have like brewing equipment at their disposal, this beer would be wasted because it's going to be flat, it's going to be lukewarm, and it was brewed for blending, so it may not be optimal to stand on its own. So it may not be the greatest beer in the world by itself. In part of a blend, it may be really good. So you know what, I did a Googling. It's been 2 years since this happened. Maybe there was a follow up. I haven't seen any. I don't think they ever caught the people who did this. So that beer just disappeared. I think they were going to do it again. I don't know how. I don't know if they ever did. I never saw anything about it. But what do you guys think? So the FDA says the stuff that's been aging in the ocean is just contaminated. It's not safe for human consumption. Would you drink it? Would you have an issue with that, or do you think that now there's a good chance that nasty stuff has gotten into it and it's just too dangerous?
No, it'd be fine, man. I drink it, no problem. FDA's got to play their rules. You got to control the processes and do this, and so if you're dunking something in the ocean, I'm sure that there's no telling what could happen. But you're in a sealed bottle there. You've got a cork. If a cork keeps wine in the bottle, it's going to keep ocean water out. Is my thinking there. So, yeah, I drink the beer. I drink the wine. Whatever. I mean, I eat things that have been aged on the bottom of the ocean. So
it's true.
It's true.
Various shellfish. Nate, would you do this, or are you a hard pass on this?
I am a tepid pass. I think I would try a little bit of it, but my biggest concern is if the barrel of beer being down there, obviously the barrel didn't implode. So I'm wondering if the pressure is able to keep the salt water out, or if there was a little bit of mingling of the ocean water with the beer, especially as they were dropping it down to the depth of the ocean. Similar with the wine, the cork keeping the wine in, that's at one atmosphere of pressure, and you go underwater, you're starting to compound those pressures against it. I don't know if the cork will keep the wine out. I don't really know how they kept it, but there is a lot of nasty stuff in the ocean. But Tim does make a good point. Y'all do eat some stuff that's aged on the bottom of the ocean, so why would that prevent you from drinking some beer or wine?
Would it matter
Nate, some of your chicken tendies may have swam in the ocean. You may be eating stuff from the ocean as well. So,
would it matter if it was freshwater? Would you be like river water as opposed to ocean water? Would you feel better about that?
I have drank some buried spirit that was put in a hole in the ground, and some fresh water got into it, and you could definitely taste the difference between fresh out of the bottle and the buried stuff. So yes, I will, and I have tried it.
So my one thing is, I saw pictures of the bottles from the winery that sank them. They were also wax dipped, and they looked to be completely intact. They also had coral growing on them. They had been down there long enough, so they actually had
cool. That's cool.
Yeah, they had some sea life. So I think at that point, when they harvest them, the state of California may be angry because they're now removing habitat that's formed on top of their wine.
Those crabs that like put stuff, like they dress themselves up.
Hermit crabs?
Hermit crabs?
No, not hermit crabs. Hermit crabs like put the thing on there, but there's another crab that will take various pieces of stuff and literally like pile it on itself as like a camouflage. And I was just saying, and I think they're smaller crabs, so this isn't possible. It's just me dreaming, but it would be hilarious to see a crab running around with just a bottle, like a 750 of wine on his back, just running around with these little crab claws out. Like, look at me. What do you think of this? Look what I got. Look what I got.
That picture I've seen of the crab that's holding a knife, I would like it also to be holding a wine bottle. That would be my spirit animal. The crab with the knife and the wine bottle. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. That would be great, man. So yeah, I'd try it. Let's try it out, man. Yeah. It's not going to,
I figure you got to.
What's going to happen? Is it going to kill me?
Well, yeah, debatable, possibly, maybe. But I think that the minute you taste it, and like if there's salinity in it, you're like, oh, okay, this got exposed. To like, no, I'm gonna pass on it. If it was salty, I'd be like, nope, there was not a seal here. But if it weren't, and like if it tasted like wine, then yeah, why not?
Give it a shot, man. Test it out. Test it a little bit. It's like the first guys that ate mushrooms. They, Clem died, and they're like, we'll not eat that one again. Then so
but this other one looks different, so let's try one.
Let's get Cletus over here, get him to try this one, see how we work out
exactly
there.
Right. Yeah,
only one way to find out. Yeah, but sure, I'd give him a try, Brian. Maybe we should try that. Maybe we should go out to the Chattahoochee and drop us some stuff down there in the bottom and age it in the bottom of the
or
hooch.
Lake Lanier or something like that.
There's probably several cans of beer currently aging on the bottom of the hooch from people dropping them off their tubes. Maybe we could just go down and harvest what's already there.
Very likely,
go.
yeah. River bottom aged,
Yeah.
Just get a net and just drag it the whole way down. Yeah, that's a good
Might
idea.
get some vintage stuff with the actual pull, like the true tin cans with the pull tabs on them and stuff.
Or the ones where you
Might
need a
even just-
church key to open them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually
that'd
got
be
to
cool.
poke the holes there. That would be interesting. See, I remember it was not normal at the time, but when I was a kid growing up in the Midwest, there's a BGR bingo. You can mark that one. Me mentioning growing up in the Midwest.
Yeah.
But we had a local soda company that you still had to church key their cans open. You had to do that. And someone was talking on the canned sardine subreddit today. They posted some vintage cans that had the keys. Do you remember when like Spam and
Yeah.
certain fish like sardines, you had the key? Nate, do you know what we're talking about?
No,
So these
unfortunately.
cans that went like Spam had it, the cans of corned beef had it, Kipper snacks, sardines and stuff. So you had the lid had a little tab on it, and you had, they called it the key, but it was really just like a metal stick with a handle on it, but it had a slot cut in the center, and you'd move
Okay.
this little metal tab up and slide that in the slot of the key. Then you twist the key and it would make the lid roll up.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's
That's great.
yeah, before the pull tabs, that's the way you did it. You had those little keys. And so there's some old guy information for you there. Back in the day, that's the way they did that. But someone was talking about that back in the church key day for beers and sodas, oil cans that you actually had to poke a spout down into.
Yeah, I've seen those where they actually have the
Yeah.
blade and the
Yep,
spout
on the
together, so
spout.
you
Yeah.
jam it in and it's one complete unit.
I think the cans were like maybe cardboard type with a metal lid. At one point, they were probably all metal, but I think I remember where it was like some kind of board, a paper product, I think, with the metal top and bottom, and you puncture down in there. So old packaging, interesting. So
Yeah,
I've got
really
some old
interesting
beer
stuff.
cans here. I've got old beer bottles and beer cans from back in the day.
I would like to. I'm not 100% sold on the benefit of the pull tab with the tin sardines and whatnot. I think that little twist thing would be handy. When I'm pulling it, I'm always trying not to spill it all over the place because they're flat, and I wind up dumping it. I actually think the little twisting, the little key that you would twist to roll it up, I would prefer that if that were available. That's not even just me being old, because I saw those. I don't think I ever used one, or if I did, it was like one time in my whole life. But from a practical standpoint, I could see where that would make less of a damn mess when I'm using it.
Yeah, because that's like, even I know what you mean about, like, if you're trying to open a can that you're holding, it's really hard not to spill some of the liquid out.
Oh, absolutely.
But even if you set it down flat on a table and pull that lid, that last piece, it's so hard to get it to come off without it snapping and slinging fish oil everywhere. So it's like I'm going real slow, trying not to get it to snap and sling fishy olive oil all over the place. So
I'm sure that's somebody's kink, though. So if we did away with this, they'd be very disappointed.
What? So Brian's telling his secrets.
That's right. It's
You know
BGR
what, guys?
After
I
Dark.
think that is a fantastic time to end the show. We thank you all for coming and hanging with us this week. We always appreciate you joining us. Remember, we're going to be doing some Beer Fest. Come hang with us August 26th at the Battery with Terrapin, and live at the Battery Atlanta. September 9th at Good Word Brewing in Duluth, Georgia for Le Bon. We're going to be drinking wild beers and eating oysters. It's going to be a good time. For more craft beer info, follow us online. We're Beer Guys Radio on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you love the show, we would love your support on Patreon. We're going to send you some cool stuff, and we're going to invite you to hang out on the Discord server with us, where we plan the show, talk topics. Brian, the Discord server, our patrons got to help us choose our tent layout, got to help us, choose our new logo and stuff. So, come hang out with us, help us make decisions here. We're not that smart. We need your assistance. So you just go to patreon.com/beerguys, and that'll have it all there for you. But as always, y'all, we hope that you have a good week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and do not forget to drink local. Cheers.
I
had
always
to
forget
stretch
that we.
my outro a little bit because I forgot to scroll down to the music. So I had to. I'm like, all right, stretch it out while you get your spot there, Tim. So
I
Just
always
wondering what
forget
you're
that
doing.
when we're closing out the actual podcast recording, we're not actually finishing the stream. So the me waving doesn't do anything for the people listening on the
we should start
podcast.
doing that.
They're just excited to see you
All
wave
right.
at them.
Bye,
That's
guys.
right. Yeah.
You're so great. Thank you so much. Cheers. Cheers. Well, y'all, we are going to end the broadcast now. If you're one of our Patreon supporters, another perk we give is we're going to give you the link over on the Discord server. You can come join us for the after party, have a beer with us, and chat a little bit. But thanks for tuning into the stream. Y'all have a good week, and we will see you next week.